Over 64,000 coronavirus cases now confirmed.
In China, however, the virus is still spreading.
Australia could lose more than a third of all new Chinese international students.
The United States has announced that foreign citizens who've been in China in the past 14 days will be temporarily barred from entering the U.S.
Welcome to this special edition of the James Rice Show, where we are going to be helping international students who maybe you are studying abroad in a English-speaking country and you're hearing some of this coronavirus vocabulary out there in the news and you maybe need some help with this vocabulary. So I've come up with a list of 15 important coronavirus words or expressions that you need to know to help you understand the news and what you're reading in the newspaper. So let's take a look. First, what we're seeing out there, of course, is coughing and sneezing. All right, so coughing, all right, and sneezing, hachoo, hachoo. Now, those are very basic words, but very, very important. So coughing and sneezing, all right? Now, also what we're seeing out there is an expression called hand hygiene. Hand hygiene. So hand hygiene means washing your hands, okay, and making sure that you have clean hands. And the general rule is for washing hands is you need to wash it for like 20 to 30 seconds, your hands, washing your hands for 20 to 30 seconds. And you need to sing, the way you do it, the way doctors do it is they sing happy birthday twice, okay, while they're washing their hands. And then that means that their hands are very clean. So that's a good rule to understand. Next, we're hearing contact tracing. Contact tracing. Now, what we're experiencing around the world is that people with the coronavirus are riding on buses or airplanes or walking into buildings, and the governments are following up with people to see if they have been in this building or been on this train or been on this bus. So this is called contact tracing. So they may contact you or they may post a notice. So they may say, hey, have you been in this building X? If you have, contact us, the government, immediately for coronavirus testing. So that is contact tracing. Another expression is social separation. Social separation. Now, this means that the governments and organizations are recommending that people do not go into mass parties or mass events like a baseball game, which is being affected in Japan. There also, social separation means that maybe one building, do not enter this building. Perhaps one area, do not enter this area, as we're experiencing with Daegu in Korea. So social separation is a form of containment. So the way the government is controlling the virus, so stopping the virus, trying to keep it in one area. That means containment, which is another word, containment. CDC is another expression, not an expression, but it's actually an organization. CDC, you're hearing out there, and that is the Center for Disease Control, and that is in the USA, and they are the experts, or one of the experts out there in this fight against the virus, and so you'll hear them a lot being mentioned, CDC. And the other one you will hear about is WHO, which is the World Health Organization. So those two organizations are giving information to the public about the virus. And they're also talking about epidemic and pandemic. So two words that you're going to hear, epidemic and pandemic. Now, epidemic means that the virus is in one certain area or one certain city. So Wuhan has an epidemic. So it's very serious, where many people are going to come into contact, where most people, I think about 80% of people will come in contact with a virus if it is an epidemic. So the chances are high that you will come in contact with the virus in some form. Pandemic means that it is a global virus infection. So that means 80% of the world has a chance to come into contact with this virus. So WHO, the World Health Organization, they do not want to call it a pandemic yet. They're not convinced that 80% of the world is going to get this virus. So they're not calling it a pandemic. But the media is calling it a pandemic, and some doctors are calling it a pandemic. All right, so those two words are important. Community spread. Community spread is another expression. Now, community spread means that the virus is moving around a certain area in your community. So what we're beginning to see is that the virus lands in a certain spot because of someone carrying it, and that community or that area becomes contaminated and gets the virus. It gets the virus. Contamination. There's that word again. All right, so that is an important word that expression that we're seeing, community spread. All right, we're getting down to the end here, so stay with me, and you may want to play this podcast back so you can remember some of these words. Another important word that's out there is aerosol. Aerosol. A-E-R-O-S-O-L, aerosol. Now, this means that the virus is floating in the air. This aerosol means the virus is floating in the air, and that's really dangerous. That means it's not human-to-human contact where somebody sneezes on you, hachoo, and you get the virus. This means that someone sneezes, hachoo, and then the virus floats in the air and can land anywhere on anyone at any time, and it stays out there for a long time, and that is very dangerous. That's very dangerous. Hand sanitizer. Hand sanitizer. So we talked about hand hygiene, washing your hands. Hand sanitizer is a product you can buy that has alcohol in it, and you use it to clean your hands. And hand sanitizer is becoming very difficult to find and hard to buy, as many people are buying hand sanitizer. So try to buy some hand sanitizer. Mortality rate. Mortality rate. This means the number of people dying. So you're going to hear the mortality rate for this virus is 2%, which means 2% of the people who get it die. So that's 98 out of 100 people are okay, but 2 die. Okay, but that mortality rate rises and falls depending on your age. So, for example, the mortality rate for people over 80 years old is 14%. So 14 people who get that out of 100 will die. So, mortality rate does change, and depending on your age and depending on your health condition. All right, we're getting down to the end here. Droplets. Droplets. That's another word that you're going to hear used by the media. So droplets, it's kind of think about like a teardrop. When you're crying, you have a teardrop. Now, droplets are much, much smaller, but the virus, it moves around by droplets. Okay, so when you sneeze, you produce droplets, and you breathe that in, and you get the virus. Another one, I think this is our last one is vaccine. Vaccine. And a vaccine is the cure. Okay, so that is a medicine that you can take, maybe through a needle or through a pill, that will help to cure or stop the virus. And that's what everybody is working on around the world. All the doctors and the CDC and the WHO, they're all working to develop a vaccine, which, according to some experts, may take over a year to develop. But they are working on it, and so there is hope out there. So I hope that these 15 words will help you, and I will list them in the podcast description as well, so you can follow along on the podcast, so you'll know which words we're going to be discussing. And I hope that it will help you when you're watching the news and following along in the media. Good luck, everyone out there, and please stay safe.
Have you downloaded the Study It ESL textbooks yet for your classroom? The Study It textbooks are the first ever digital and interactive textbooks. Once downloaded, Wi-Fi is no longer required. Each book contains video and audio exercises, detailed grammar keynotes, reading and writing assignments, and amazing speaking projects. Grammar, conversation, pronunciation, business English, and listening textbooks are available. Visit www.studyitbooks.com for more information.